find the equation of these lines. So line A here, you've got a line going up. So as we walk from left to right, we need to go up. So this is something positive gradient. Line B, it's going down. So we're anticipating a negative gradient. We're going to find these in gradient intercept form. And the general form for this is y equals mx plus c. The m bit is the gradient, and the c is the y-intercept, as in where does it cross the y-axis. Okay, so another way to think about it as y equals gradient x plus y-intercept. Just like that. So if we take line A, we need two things. We need M and we need C. Right, so if we go to have a look at the line, to find a gradient, there are multiple ways of doing it, but if you've got the line and you've got lots of squares, your best bet is probably to get on the line and then do an X step. So you pick another point on the line where we definitely know where it is. There's lots of others. We could go here or here. So I'm going to pick that blue point just because it's kind of, the fact that it's there is sort of asking me to pick it. So that is my X step, and then I go back up to go back on the line. Think of your X step as always being positive to the right. Always take your X step first and always take it to the right. So then we can say, well, what is that X step? We've got 1, 2, 3 places, and do check that that's 3. You should always beware of axes that are scaled differently. If the scale on one axis is different to the scale on the other, then this will not work, just counting squares alone. So this is an X step of 3, and also think of the X step as always being positive. Now the Y step, it could be positive, could be negative. From here I've had to go up to get back on the line, so that's positive and it's a step of 1. So now the gradient, remember it's Y step over X step, so it's 1 over 3, and you don't need to do anything with that. C is where does it cross the Y axis? Well, you can see here, if I can just draw that, this is the Y-intercept right there, and it happens when Y is 1, 2, Y is 2. See that the Y-intercept C is 2, so M is a third, C is 2, Y equals mx plus C. The equation is Y equals 1/3 of x plus 2, and that doesn't need anything doing with it because it's already in a perfectly defined form. That this is a simplified fraction. There's no sort of plus minus or anything like that to worry about. It's fine. Right, line B, the same things. We need to find M and we need to find C. So if we start with M, again, I'm going to go on the line, I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to take the X step. I'm going to use this other blue point just because I think they've been put there to help. I could just as easily use that point as I know where that is, but I don't think I've got any other options. Oh no, this one here as well. Lots of options. Right, so what I'm going to do is take my X step to the right. Always take your X step first, take it to the right. So I'm going to go to make sure I'm level with this point that I'm going to go to. So here you go, that is my X step, and then my Y step is to go down back to the line. Remember, the Y step is whatever gets you back to the line. Then we need to count some squares. So from here we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is an X step of 6. Remember, think of your X step as always being positive. Now your Y step, we've got 1, 2, 3 down, so that is -3 because it's 3 down. So think of your X step as always being positive. Your Y step could be positive, could be negative, depending on what you have to do to get back to the line. Do you have to go up or down? So here, M's going to be a bit more work. M in this case, remember it's Y step over X step. So the Y step we said was -3 and the X step is 6. -3 over 6 is -1 over 2. So that's M. C, is going to be c equals, well, let's have a look at the line. Where does it cross the y-axis? You can see here it happens when y equals 3. So c is 3. Y equals mx plus c. So y equals minus a half of x. Y equals minus a half of x plus 3. So all you need to do, find m, find c, and that's all you need to do. If you have a negative c, say this c was minus 3, you wouldn't write y equals minus a half x plus minus 3. You would just write minus 3. It just looks untidy. A bit like, say you had a gradient of 1, you wouldn't write y equals 1x, you would write y equals x.